Currently, there is a minority, but a significant Christian population in Gaza. One of the oldest Christian churches in the world has been bombed by Israel in the course of all of this. Former Congressmember Justin Amash has lost family members that have been killed by Israel in the context of this, and even that wasn't enough to shake American foreign policy.
So how do we get to a solution?
So I think that we have to not talk about Arabs as though they're somehow constitutionally different than Danes. I don't know why we would essentialize populations in that way. We have to be open to the idea
Danes don't
that
do
the people...
October 7th?
Wait a minute. Muslims didn't do October 7th.
Not since the Vikings,
Gazans didn't do October 7th.
Have you heard of this woman, Brianna Joy Gray? She made quite a few headlines back in the day when she rolled her eyes in a type of disgust while interviewing a sister of a kidnapped person in Gaza. And since then, she's just been on this crusade to defend Hamas and attack Israel at every opportunity. I don't know what motivates these people to take on these crazy positions, but you can see it here in this debate that she took part in with a biased, somewhat moderator, Konstanton Kisin, but still, take a look.
I do think we have an obligation to think about how this gets solved. So, Brianna, what would your solution look like?
I think the idea that there can't be a world where Jews and Muslims, Arabs and non-Arabs live together is belied by the reality of history. Prior to the founding of Israel, Arab Jews did live peacefully alongside Muslims in what is now described as Israel. And there was this quip about how there are no Jews living in the West, in Gaza. Why would there be? You had an establishment of a Jewish state that is the #1 welfare beneficiary of the United States of America.
Belied by history. You're right, it is belied by history. Inside the state of Israel, Arabs and Jews live peacefully together. Outside the state of Israel, they don't. Before the establishment of Israel, Jews lived as dhimmis, a subjugated minority under Muslim rule. So you're correct, kind of.
Receiving more American aid than any other country in the world, despite obviously being more affluent than most of the countries in the world. I think there's a relationship there. Currently, there is a minority, but a significant Christian population in Gaza. One of the oldest Christian churches in the world has been bombed by Israel in the course of all of this. Former Congressmember Justin Amash has lost family members that have been killed by Israel in the context of this, and even that wasn't enough to shake American foreign policy.
So how do we get to a solution?
So I think that we have to not talk about Arabs as though they're somehow constitutionally different than Danes. I don't know why we would essentialize populations in that way. We have to be open to the idea
Danes don't
that
do
the people...
October 7th?
Wait a minute. Muslims didn't do October 7th.
Not since the Vikings,
Gazans didn't do October 7th. And if you're adopting the worldview that everyone in Gaza, the 2.3 million people, are responsible, then you are very much in line with Netanyahu's right-wing government, who thinks that and therefore thinks it's appropriate to violate international law by doing collective punishment on the population, literally starving them to death, having them on the brink of famine, killing 13,000 kids. There was a very passionate description of the graphic reality of October 7th at the beginning of this talk. And I just want to take a moment to say that it's also true that we've seen video after video of Palestinian father picking up the pieces of his children and collecting them in a plastic bag. I totally agree. The question is why in Israel,
Brianna, let me give you
Israelis are rioting.
20 more seconds.
Are rioting.
20 more seconds if you want to talk about getting to a solution.
In Israel, protesters are protesting Netanyahu because of the news widely reported again this week that he rejected a deal to release all of the hostages on October 8th. There are people who have been living with no medical treatment, the American soldier that just had the proof of life without an arm, because Netanyahu has made the decision to want to persecute this war and get, okay, the answer is...
You're not answering my question.
I'll answer the question.
Go.
I'm sorry, I do feel like a lot of responses...
20 more seconds.
Okay.
20 more seconds. The solution, please, go.
The solution is there has to be, I think there was a world where they had a two-state solution. America just said again, it's not... demonstrated again that it's not a part of our policy, as evidenced by the fact that we vetoed the recognition of Palestine as a state, which is a path toward getting a two-state solution just last week. So there has to be a one-state solution, which means that there cannot, when Hamas is talking about eliminating Israel, it's talking about not killing all of the Jews. It's about eliminating the idea.
Okay.
It's about...
Leave it there. We'll leave it there. Brianna, we'll leave it there.
It's about, let me just finish, sir. Can I just finish the sentence? It's about eliminating the idea of a Jewish state. Ending a Jewish state, ending an ethno-national state, and having a state more like what we have in the United States of America.
If I can just
It's like being the United States of America. Death to the Jews. The day will come where the Jews hide behind stones and rocks and they'll say, come and kill him. Jihad, Allahu Akbar, while massacring people. That's about living all together in a democracy like the United States of America. This is the ultimate stupidity and projection of people who live in the US and for some reason think that Hamas want what they want.
To that one thing quickly.
Michael, we're actually running out of time.
Yeah, very, very quick. The Danes' point, I mean, the pluralism of the Danes. It's not Gaza. I saw a news story the other day, the AFP, that about the 5 Jews left in Baghdad, you see the most vibrant Jewish population in the Middle East. And that was the other Nakba, 700,000 Jews that were run out of. I visited a totally destroyed shell of a synagogue in Libya. And my guide said to me, that used to be something back in the 1930s. We had a thriving. That is the problem in the neighborhood, is that, it's Russia, it's everywhere. Jews have been pushed out, and that is not as if it is just a problem that is localized to Gaza.
Okay.
It's the region.
So, a couple of minutes on what the solution is. How does this get solved? I know you said earlier that it's tough and you'd be making lots more money than you are.
You think that I'm going to come up with it in that short period of time?
Well, I would like to hear from all of you a step towards the solution. I think that's a reasonable ask.
A step towards the solution is the destruction of Hamas and the return of the hostages.
How do you do that?
That's a start.
Okay.
How do you destroy Hamas?
It's happening now. It's happening now.
It's not.
I mean, we had a conversation. If we believe Hamas's own numbers that 6,000 of their fighters have been killed,
so
that's a start.
You're
Okay,
comfortable.
Brian, sorry, you've had your time. Go for it.
Well, I just want to say something, in a rare point of agreement with Brianna, that I agree that we should think about a world where Arabs and Muslims and Jews can live together in a peaceful civil society. But fortunately, that place exists. It's called Israel. Now, my solution is very similar to Michael's. There are times in history when a particular group suffers such a massive military defeat that it creates ripples of discrediting of this kind of approach. And there needs to be a kind of reckoning for Palestinians to give up on their 100-year delusion that their freedom and that their sovereignty depends on the elimination of Israel. And I know that you are coming, Brianna, from a very good place where you say, well, everybody should live in peace in one state from the river to the sea. But in fact, what you're doing is you're feeding the delusion that's only going to get more Palestinians killed. What friends of Palestinians should say is very simply, this is never going to happen. You're not going to eliminate Israel, except half a loaf. And Israel changes on a dime. They have elections, it seems, every 3 months. So the point is, and by the way, the last government before this one had for the first time an Arab party in the ruling coalition. There are Arab Supreme Court justices. So if there was a viable Palestinian leader that said, all right, let's do it, let's negotiate a deal, I am sure the Israelis would say, great, because they just want to get on with their lives like, so many other people in the world.
How likely,
he's in prison.
How likely is that viable Palestinian leader to emerge in the circumstances that we're in now?
Well, it can only emerge after everybody who believes that Hamas has, all of this momentum, sadly, bolstered by these moronic college students and professors.
Hamas is literally bolstered by Benjamin Netanyahu.
What? Say it again?
You're blaming college students for bolstering Hamas when we know that Bibi Netanyahu, as quoted to you directly just now, is the one that's bolstering him.
You factually misrepresented Netanyahu.
Solution.
College kids have more power than the man literally funding Hamas.
For the physical destruction, the utter discrediting, the total rethink, so that every single Palestinian who thought that maybe Hamas had the way to their dream palace of a Palestine from the river to the sea, and that they were like, we were being lied to, they've brought us nothing but misery. And then at that point, maybe there's a moment to say, all right, let's negotiate. You can't always get what you want.
And that, of course, has not happened, even though Hamas were badly beaten in this war. Still, you go to Gaza, you see the videos from Gaza, and everyone is, look, we won. Look, we're going to march to Jerusalem. This isn't over. Our dream is alive. Like, they haven't been completely defeated. This is the problem with the world that we live in, where they always feel that Israel needs to negotiate with Hamas, and Hamas have to feel like they got something in that negotiation, instead of the goal being, you come out, you raise your hands, white flag, release all the hostages unconditionally, and we lost. Now, they did end up releasing the hostages under a deal brokered by Trump, but still, this wasn't the unconditional defeat and surrender to completely discredit what Hamas did. Instead, they're already saying, we're going to do another October 7th. We're going to destroy Israel one day. We're going to march to Jerusalem. Nothing has changed. That reckoning that Eli Lake there, that guy was talking about, of this has brought us to nothing but destruction, they haven't learned the lesson. They never learned the lesson. And one of the reasons is because of idiots like this Brianna Joy Gray or whatever her name is, who come and say, you're right, guys. Your desire to destroy Israel is justified because Israel is this ethno-national state. We have to live in one state, which would be an Arab majority, Muslim majority state. We have to live in this one state, which, of course, is never going to be a realistic thing, that everyone is going to live perfectly inside this society as the Muslims take it over and become the majority, which is their goal. One state means being more like the United States of America by a jihadist Muslim Brotherhood Islamist organization. No, one state for them is to destroy Israel. Their goal is to destroy Israel. And it's funny that this woman, this idiot woman, afterwards, she went on this rant on Twitter about this debate, right? How badly she was treated, how she was interrupted, how biased the moderator was, even though he's a little bit biased because Konstanton Kisin is like more pro-Israel than pro-Hamas. But still, she went on this big rant on her treatment in the in the debate. And afterwards, like it turned out they had a timer of how much each person talked, and it turned out that she by far talked the most out of the 4 participants. So she was completely delusional, not just about her view of Hamas as this organization that wants democracy and peace in the Middle East, but also about her own performance and her own treatment in the debate. So delusion goes hand in hand. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.